Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. Here's Charles Cormier, host of CEOWisdomPodcast.com, and John T Hewitt with us, CEO at Loyalty Brand. John is an experienced entrepreneur. He's been founder at Liberty Tax for 21 years and Liberty Tax Services also for a similar amount of time. He is a franchising expert with over 50 years of experience, has helped over 5,000 people achieve their dream of business ownership, which is quite amazing. This podcast is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start your own podcast, scale it, monetize it, find sponsorships and advertisers, go to podpire.com. John, glad to have you on the pods. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you've been up to nowadays.
Yeah, 55 years of franchise experience. I started long before you were even thought of. I was attending University of Buffalo and took an H&R Block course. I loved it. 12 years later, I was running 250 H&R Block locations. My dad was the CFO of a public company, and he liked the Apple he bought by mail in the 70s better than the mainframe that was running his public company. So in 1981, he decided we should computerize taxes. So he talked me into leaving my job, and he left his, and we built first tax software for an Apple computer. No one wanted it, way ahead of its time. Got blessed and found a company in Virginia Beach, Virginia, called Mel Jackson Tax Service. Mel had died. We bought 6 offices from his widow. We merged the two companies, changed the name to Jackson Hewitt, and went national. 15 years later, public company, we sold it for $483 million. I had a 3-year non-compete that didn't cover Canada because Jackson Hewitt's never gone to Canada. And having grown up in Buffalo, I knew the Canadian tax system. So we opened Liberty Tax in Canada. And within 3 years became one of the top 100 retail chains in Canada. Came back to the United States in 2000 when my non-compete ended. And now I had to compete against myself, my own name, my own people, my own software, my own system. And yet we grew faster than both Jackson Hewitt and H&R Block combined. We opened 4,000 offices in 12 years. Top 10 fastest growing franchisor ever. And again, a public company worth $500 million. Sold my stock and started Loyalty Brands. And Loyalty Brands, unlike Jackson Hewitt or Liberty, Loyalty has 8 different brands. We have 3 different focuses. One is tax and accounting. And second is construction, led by our roofing. And thirdly is the fastest growing part of our portfolio is pets, pet grooming, led by our mobile pet grooming, Zoom and Grooming. So right now we have 8 different franchisors that are 3 of them are in the top 10% fastest growing franchisors. One of them is in the top 1%.
First question for you. Your dad was quite the successful man. Do you feel you've outpaced him, or was that ever the goal, not to be in daddy's shadow?
You know, my oldest son, I think had that disease, but I never worried about it. I quickly outpaced what he had accomplished. I never even thought about it.
Second question. Yeah, you've grown that company to very big heights. Yeah, were you wealthy earlier in your life? Did wealth change you in something? Was that ever a goal for you?
You know, I grew up poor, very poor. My dad lost both of his parents by the time he was 20, and he grew up in the Depression, and they were married very young. He went into the Army, and that paid for his scholarship to Michigan State. And he had 3 children before he left Michigan State. So we never had a lot of money. And somehow I was cocky when I was in high school. I knew I was going to get wealthy. I didn't know how. Through income tax and franchising, I found my vehicle. But I thought when I was a kid, I thought, I'll just make a few $1 million and retire and relax. And then I realized that what would I do? This is so much fun changing people's lives. I brought in over 5,000 franchises. I've changed tens of thousands of people's lives, and there's nothing more fun or rewarding than that. So right now, they got to kill me to stop me. I'm in this for life.
Love it.
The journey,
And
the journey's the joy.
right, yeah. How did that change you? Like, if you analyze the John 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, how did you change from these phases of your career?
Well, I certainly am much more capable of giving back now because of we started a World Hunger Organization, one of the top World Hunger organizations in the world. I mentor thousands of people, hundreds of people, and so both financially and through business wisdom, and some of the business wisdom is sometimes I give personal advice. I'm Mr. like Dr. Phil in a way to some people, but my specialty, of course, is in helping people grow businesses and become financially independent.
Love it. And yeah, 5,000 franchisees, 6,000 locations for Liberty Tax. Was that the upper limit of where it could scale? Why did you stop at these numbers?
Well, between Liberty and Jackson Hewitt, they grew to 10,000 locations, and each of them, neither one of them got to H&R Block size, which was 9,000. Both of them peaked soon after I left. So they started downhill after I left. They lost the entrepreneurial push. They are owned and have been owned by private equity, which is a numbers play, not a people play. So they stopped putting people ahead of the profits, and people cause you to grow and make more profits. If you focus on profits, you lose people and you lose growth. So both lost growth after I left.
Why do you think H&R Block scaled so well? Is it because everyone needs to do their taxes and there was not like one face in that industry? And yeah, what growth factors do you attribute the meteoric growth of H&R Block?
Yeah, it was a different world when I was with H&R Block. I was with H&R Block from 1969 to 1981. So in those 12 years, Block went from 3,000 locations to 9,000 locations. Back then, there were not very many tax preparers. So there certainly wasn't a Jackson Hewitt or a Liberty Tax. So there was very little competition. And people had been used to, before H&R Block was invented, they've been used to going down to the IRS and having the IRS do their tax returns for free. But they soon realized that the IRS was unlikely to get them the lowest tax, to make sure that they didn't overpay. And so they were willing to pay a little extra to ensure that they had someone that was on their side, making sure that they paid the lowest tax that they were liable for.
Do you feel the franchise model still scales as well nowadays than it was 20, 30 years ago?
Absolutely, and you have to be careful that most franchisors are failures. The median number of units in this country of the 4,000 franchisors is 20 locations, and we bring in 15 or 20 every month. So you have to be careful who you join. But yes, if you get a viable franchise with a quality system, then it puts you years ahead of doing it yourself. You're muted, Charles.
With all the franchises
There you go.
that you have right now, um, yeah, like for example, ATAG, Zoom and Grumman, Little Medical School, Ledgers, Loyalty, Business Brokers, American Exterior, Salty Dog, and the Inspection Boys. Which one are you most bullish about right now?
The pet industry is growing crazy. So even though I've been doing taxes for 55 years, and even though we're the fastest growing in We're growing faster than H&R Block or Jackson Hewitt or Liberty with our tax brand, ATAX. We're growing way faster with Zoom and Grimmin. It's just amazing how much people are willing to spend on their pets. There's a huge change in society over the last 5 to 10 years that now people your age in their 20s, 30s, 40s many of them are having pets rather than children. And so and even the ones that have both, 2/3 of them like their pets better. So the pet industry, I'm really enthralled with the high growth in the pet industry.
And yeah, do you feel that numbers of pet owners are growing vs 20 years ago? Like, were people having less pets back then?
Yeah, the biggest growth was during COVID, that it jumped up over 10% in 1 year. But yes, a lot more people, a lot higher percentage of people have pets. Today it's approaching 60%, and 10 years ago it was less than 50%.
Yeah, I'm very bullish on that too. One of my clients is into pet longevity. So supplements and pet and tracking their health, their heart rate, and so forth. So fascinating niche altogether. It seems you have podcasts as well. Why are you bullish on podcasting as a growth activity?
It's a chance to not only to tell my story and spread it around the country, but also to meet great hosts like yourself that are in tune, and they're influencers. There are only X number percentage of influencers in this country or in the world, and I find that every podcaster is an influencer.
Right. Tell me about the biggest challenges in your career, like moments where you weren't sure you were gonna survive or make it financially.
Yeah, there's several times. There's several times we almost went bankrupt. One time it was self-imposed that we overexpanded. We had a chance in 1988 to we were the third largest tax service in the country. Block had 9,000, and the second had about 270, and we had 49. And we had a chance to buy 200 locations from the second largest in the country, immediately to jump up to number 2. And in October of 1988, made the mistake of trying to swallow something that was too big for us to swallow. And so we almost went bankrupt then, and that was my own mistake, trying to be number 2 so quickly. And we did become number 2, but it almost killed us. And then in 7 years later, the IRS almost destroyed the industry in 1995. And so it wasn't our doing, it was external. And again, we almost went bankrupt, but we were able to, both times, we were able to get through it and come out much stronger on the other side.
So, what's your mental model to get through these stressful periods? Is it just to crunch work and ignore it, or do you have a way to let the steam off?
Well, I have so many people that are dependent on me in my whole career. I've had 2 public companies with thousands of shareholders. I've had thousands of employees, thousands of franchisees. So I'm always under incredible pressure. What I've learned to do is to compartmentalize it and take a break. Like, I'll enjoy a good comedy, a movie, or read, or do something that's I don't spend. I learned that it's not useful to spend my time doing things I'm not good at, like mowing the lawn, or taking out the garbage, or cooking, or cleaning, or things like that. I learned that I need to pay people to do that, and find things that I enjoy doing when I have downtime. And then if I'm watching a comedy, somehow I have the ability or the obsession of I get totally engrossed, and the rest of the world And then I like the Yankees baseball. I watch that virtually every game, and that so it takes my mind off my stressful situations. But it starts and ends with every day that I'm grateful with all my blessings in my life. I'm grateful when I wake up in the morning and I go to sleep. I'm incredibly grateful, and so anything bad that happens is just a blip in that day, a blip in eternity. I'm not. I'm into. I don't worry about what happened yesterday and all the mistakes that I made yesterday. I only worry about where I am today and how to move forward in the most positive way.
What kind of advice do you give to your franchisees as younger folks that want to get to a stage like yours one day?
I have a top 10 list of things to grow exponentially. And so it's actually 12 things. I think I'm entitled to have, because there's 18 teams. So if there can be 18 teams in the Big Ten, then there can be. So I have the top 10 ways to grow exponentially.
Okay, and what are these? I think. Okay, you're back now. I think your connection's on enough, but what's the top 10?
I have the top 10 ways to grow exponentially.
Yeah, tell me about these.
Okay, so it took me an hour. I did a webinar about a month ago on
Yeah,
what they are. It took me an hour to explain it, but I can say them very quickly without
yeah.
going into them. Let me find my list here quickly so I have it on hand. So it starts out with positive attitude.
Yep.
Always trying to do what's best for each person, even if it's not best for me. As I try to do what's best for each and every person. Having integrity, doing what you say you're going to do.
Mm.
That's so key. That so few people do that. That just sets you apart. I want what's best for every person that I meet, and what is best for me. That's wonderful, but it's not always best for me. I just want what's best for every person. Commitment to improvement. My goal is fanatical to win. To win, I have to have the best system. To have the best system, it has to be improving. Listen to my customers, and because it doesn't matter what I think, customers pay all the bills. I don't need a board of directors or an investor or an employee unless I have customers. So listen to my customers, and then the best way to listen to my customers is also to listen to my employees who are the face of the company and deal with the customer. You have to have a vision, long-term vision, and everyone thinks they have one. Very few people do. You have to convince everyone to buy in. Your investors, your employees, your vendors, your franchisees. You have to be good at delegation. Very few people in this country are good delegators. Hard work. Everything worthwhile requires hard work. You have to have systems for common situations. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over in different ways. You're going to be faced with the same thing. You have to have a systemic approach. Most important, though, is perseverance. That everyone gets knocked down, everyone faces adversity. The winners get up each and every time. They got to kill me to stop me. You have to persevere.
Right. Amen to that list. What does your day to day look like nowadays as a CEO from the moment you get up?
I'm into electronics. I love business. I love the battle. That you got to win every battle or win most battles to win the war. So I love information. So I'm electronically, as long as I'm awake, I'm hooked up electronically. So most of my days are when I'm not traveling are I'm on electronically, like on a podcast or a Zoom or answering emails or texts. I'm not good at, I do not like the telephone. So I enjoy texting and emailing, and I'll do Zoom. I travel a lot. I travel a couple of days a week. Last week I was in San Diego for 3 days. This week I'll be in Columbus, Ohio for 3 days. Travel virtually every week.
From for the remainder of your life, let's say you have 2 decades remaining on this planet, other than if I crack longevity, what do you want to accomplish in that time frame before you go?
Every day, it's about improving lives, helping people. Our mission statement is having fun, improving lives. If on Monday morning you're going to work and you're not looking forward to it, you're going to the wrong place. So that's my goal. It's very simple. It's having fun, improving lives.
Love it, John. So much value dropped today. Where can people find out more about you?
At loyaltybrands.com, and your listeners can and viewers can get a free copy of my book if they just, there's a link on there to get a free copy of my book.